I never thought my wedding day would ignite a family storm. Growing up, I was used to being sidelined by my parents for my brother Ethan, a guy who got praised for nothing but trouble. But when they skipped my wedding invite to catch his football game, or so I thought, I decided to test if they even cared. The result? A jaw-dropping secret unraveled, and now the whole town's buzzing. What happened next? From a young age, I grew accustomed to being sidelined by my parents because of Ethan, my younger brother. He wasn't special. No illnesses, no remarkable talents, just a kid born and instantly claiming all of Mom's love. She went from a warm, caring woman to one of those boy moms, mocked online, doting on Ethan like he was a treasure while I faded into the background. Dad was different. He still showed me some affection, but his cowardice kept him from ever standing up to Mom for me. Whenever I tried to shine, acing a test or winning a prize, Ethan would ruin it, and Mom always took his side, blaming me for being jealous or not yielding to him. Ethan grew up spoiled beyond measure. Whatever he wanted, Mom provided, expensive toys, designer clothes, while I made do with hand-me-downs. Once, I saved up for a dress for prom, but Ethan deliberately spilled sauce on it, laughing as I cried. Mom didn't scold him. She told me, "Don't overreact, it's just a dress." It hit me then. In her eyes, I'd never matter as much as Ethan. He knew it too and milked it, taunting me with a smug, "Mom loves me more," his grin making me want to punch him. The favoritism wasn't just petty. At 15, I won an art contest with a small scholarship, but Mom used the money to buy Ethan new football cleats, saying he needs encouragement for his talent. Talent? Just a few kicks, he bragged about. I cried all night, but Dad only patted my shoulder, muttering, "Be understanding, your mom just wants the best for Ethan." I started wondering if I was really their child or just an unwanted extra in this family. Things worsened as Ethan became a selfish jerk, expecting everyone to bow to him. He'd throw tantrums if I accidentally took his favorite spot on the couch, and Mom would instantly berate me for not giving in to him. I grew distant, resentment simmering inside. Ethan wasn't just my brother. He was the thief who stole my childhood and the fairness I deserved. Still, I pushed myself to rise above it, determined not to let their bias define me. But deep down, I kept asking, why did they treat me this way? After years of enduring the favoritism toward Ethan, I finally found my own light when I met Lucas at public university. He became not just my best friend, but my partner, the one who helped me break free from my family's shadow. When Lucas proposed last year, it felt like my life finally had meaning. We planned a simple yet heartfelt wedding, and despite knowing my parents always put Ethan first, Lucas convinced me to send them and Ethan invitations. I carefully picked beautiful cards, wrote the invites by hand, and mailed them, hoping this time they'd care. But that hope quickly faded. I checked with the post office, confirmed delivered, but got no response. I texted them mentioning the wedding date, only to be left on read. It wasn't surprising. They'd skipped my ballet recitals and graduations for Ethan's sake before. When I called to confirm, Mom cut me off, saying they were busy with Ethan's last game of the season and couldn't miss it. I stayed calm, asking again, but she snapped, "Don't bother us. Ethan needs my support." I gave a bitter laugh, wondering if they ever considered my feelings. Determined to test them one last time, I hinted at an important event without saying it was my wedding. I visited home, bringing wedding flower samples to show off, but Mom didn't even glance, rambling about Ethan's latest goal instead. I tried interrupting, "Mom, that day's huge for me," but she waved me off. "Yeah, sure, but Ethan's game matters more." Dad sat silently, eyes glued to the TV as always. I left with a heavy heart, realizing they hadn't changed. Ethan, probably gloating somewhere, had beaten me again without even trying. Still, I refused to let that pain dim my joy. Lucas held my hand, saying, "You don't need them to be happy." I nodded, deciding my wedding would belong to me and those who truly loved me. I pictured them at the game while I walked down the aisle, wondering if they'd feel any regret. Deep down, I knew the answer. To them, Ethan was everything, and I was just a faint name on their priority list. This time, I wouldn't beg for their attention. I'd shine on my own, with or without them. My wedding with Lucas was perfect, without my parents or Ethan. Grandpa walked me down the aisle, his eyes beaming with pride, and our friends and Lucas's family filled the day with love. But as I stepped into the car, my aunt asked, "Why aren't your parents here?" I smiled faintly. They're busy at Ethan's game. People exchanged puzzled looks, some muttered, but I brushed it off. Grandpa, though, gripped my hand tighter, lips pursed, clearly furious at their absence. Days later, while Lucas and I enjoyed our phone-free honeymoon, a storm brewed. My aunt, always one for attention, posted wedding photos on Facebook with a biting caption, "Beautiful wedding, shame some chose a football field over their daughter." It spread like wildfire, and when we returned, my phone drowned in notifications. Old friends, neighbors, even strangers from my parents' town commented, slamming Mom for abandoning me. Someone tagged her, writing, "This is how you raise kids?" Their tight-knit community was brutal with scandals like this. I heard Mom got whispers behind her back at the market, and Dad faced scornful stares from coworkers at the coffee shop. But the real explosion came from Grandpa. He drove 8 hours across the country to confront my parents at their doorstep. I pictured him standing there, voice like thunder, berating Dad, the son he once had hopes for missing my wedding. "You let Ethan's mom control you till you forgot my granddaughter?" he roared, per a cousin's account. Dad, ever spineless, just cried, unable to fight back for once. My aunt's post now had thousands of shares with comments like, "Real-life evil stepmom," or "Poor girl, what kind of parents?" I didn't expect it to blow up this much. Part of me relished Mom, who'd always treated me as invisible, facing public shame. But another part grew anxious, unsure how they'd react when I got back. I turned off my phone, telling myself this was their mess. They chose Ethan over me, and now the world knew it. After the honeymoon, I knew it was time to confront my parents and Ethan and settle things once and for all. My aunt's post was still smoldering in the community, whispers buzzing through Lucas's phone from mutual friends. Grandpa called right as we got home, his voice low and furious, urging, "You need to face them head on, don't let him dodge this." I sighed, texting Dad to arrange a meeting for all three at a neutral park, a place where no one could hide behind familiar walls. Dad replied instantly, his tone feeble through the message, agreeing without hesitation. That day, I arrived with Lucas, my aunt and uncle, tagging along to keep things from spiraling out of control. Dad sat on a bench, looking haggard, eyes red like he'd cried all night. Mom sat beside him, tougher, but I caught a flicker of unease in her gaze. Ethan lounged against a tree, arms crossed, face dripping with annoyance like he'd been dragged here against his will. I took a deep breath and started recounting the wounds their favoritism had carved into me. The times I was cast aside for Ethan, the baseless scoldings when I just wanted recognition. My voice trembled but held firm, each word like a blade I pulled from my own heart. Mom tried to interrupt, her tone sharp. "Don't blow this out of proportion, let the past go." But my aunt shot up, pointing at her. "Shut it, let her finish." The air grew taut as a bowstring. I locked eyes with them, demanding, "Why didn't you come to the wedding? Where's the invite?" They denied it in unison, insisting, "We never got anything." I pulled out my phone, showing the texts I'd sent to confirm, but they still claimed, "Never saw them." Then Ethan, with a smug smirk, spoke up. "Yeah, I saw the invite on the table when I visited, tore it up and tossed it in the trash. The texts? Deleted those too, easy, they never check your chat anyway." I froze, my heart clenching, mind reeling. Lucas gripped my hand tighter, his eyes flashing with a rare fury. "Why?" I growled, staring Ethan down. He shrugged, coolly replying, "It wasn't as important as what I wanted to do that day. I don't care for your little parties." I wanted to lunge at him, wipe that smugness off his face, but Lucas held me back, whispering, "Don't, you're worth more than that." What stunned me more was my parents' reaction. They turned on Ethan, their voices harsh in a way I'd seldom heard. Dad yelled, "How could you do that to your sister? What were you thinking?" Mom snapped, "You've ruined this family." But I knew it was just a clumsy act. If they'd truly cared, they'd have noticed me talking about the wedding when I visited all those times before. I cut in, "Stop pretending. You heard me mention the wedding a dozen times and never bothered to ask. This isn't just Ethan's fault. You're no different." The tension escalated as Mom tried to justify it, her tone arrogant. "I thought you were joking. Who'd have thought Lucas would actually marry you?" Those words stabbed my heart, the pain nearly bringing tears. Dad bowed his head, mumbling apologies nonstop, but wouldn't meet my eyes. Ethan started fake crying, crocodile tears streaming, but I wasn't fazed. I knew that trick too well. I stood, voice ice cold. I'm done with all of you. Don't ever contact me. The silence was suffocating, as if the whole park held its breath. I turned and walked away, Lucas at my side, his warm hand steadying mine. My aunt and uncle stayed behind, their eyes suggesting this wasn't over. But for me, the truth was crystal clear. They'd never truly seen me as family. And now I didn't need them either. The confrontation at the park left me drained, but I knew I couldn't stop there. After walking away with Lucas, I sat in the car, hands trembling as I replayed Ethan's actions and my parents' apathy. I'd cut them off, but my chest still felt heavy. Not with sadness, like hope, but with the weight of betrayal and hurt. Lucas looked at me, his gaze steady. You need to make them feel the consequences. I nodded, knowing he was right. The next day, I dug through my phone, pulling up every message Mom had ever sent. The insults, the times she called me useless, or don't bother me when Ethan needs me. I compiled them into a folder, heart pounding as I hit send to Mrs. Linda, the head of Mom's church women's group, a place she'd spent her life building her reputation. I knew this would spark a firestorm. That church community was small but ruthless, and Mom had always prided herself on being a model member. Within hours, Lucas's phone buzzed nonstop. Friends from town reported the gossip spreading like wildfire. Mrs. Linda, with the sanctimonious air I'd glimpsed in past encounters, had publicly read some messages aloud at a meeting, branding Mom a betrayer of God's family. Mom was shunned instantly. No more tea party invites, and Dad, once a church council member, got booted from event plan. Neighbors described Mom standing outside the church gate yelling for an explanation, but no one cared to listen. I hadn't expected it to escalate this far, but I didn't regret it. The news spilled beyond the church, seeping into every corner of the town. Dad's golf buddies distanced themselves, and Mom stopped going to the market to avoid scornful stares. One morning, a cousin texted me, "Your mom tried showing up at the bakery, but the owner refused service. The whole town knows now." I gave a faint smile, feeling both satisfied and hollow. They'd made me invisible once. Now they tasted what it was like to be rejected by their community. I texted my aunt, asking her to spread a few more details, like how Mom mocked me in front of relatives, and she did it gleefully, pouring fuel on the scandal's flames. I didn't stop there. I drafted a short email to my parents and Ethan. I told you not to contact me again. Now live with the consequences. I blocked their numbers right after, hands shaking as I pressed the button, but an odd relief washed over me. Lucas hugged me, whispering, "You did the right thing." I nodded, knowing this was the final step to sever them from my life. The town now saw them as failures, not because of me, but because of their own selfishness. I'd reclaimed justice, not with words, but with actions they couldn't escape. They'd built their world around Ethan, and I'd torn it down, leaving them exposed to the judgment they'd once dodged.